It's my favourite thing to do in the whole world, and it's the job that I think I was like made to do. Hi, my name's Esmie Jikiemi-Pearson. I'm the Sunday Times Bestselling author of The Principle of Moments. I studied English Literature and Classical Studies at the University of Exeter, and I graduated in 2022. At the time I was writing The Principle of Moments, so it was nice to sort of get a bit of a formal training in how to do creative writing. I started writing The Principle of Moments when I was quite young. I was 16 when I first set out to write the draft of the book. I became really interested in understanding how myself as a young mixed-race black woman would fit into a fantasy world. So I just decided to write one. I think it was a very cathartic, therapeutic process for me. It took me about 2 years to finish the first draft. Then I queried it, so I tried to get a literary agent. I didn't have much success at all, really. I think there hadn't been much diversity in fantasy up until that point. It was kind of seen as risky. It was quite disheartening, and for a while I didn't write anymore. In my first year of uni, a prize opened that was specifically for writers of science fiction and fantasy from underrepresented backgrounds. I entered the competition and got shortlisted, got a literary agent out of that, and then I went on to win the competition, which was absolutely transformative for me and my career. The publisher that ran the competition was Gollancz. They eventually offered me a book deal, and they are my publisher to this day. In January, the hardback of The Principle of Moments came out. I was lucky enough to hit number 4 on the Sunday Times bestseller list, which was an absolutely surreal moment. The same week as that, I actually had another book come out, which was a really exciting project that I did in collaboration with Doctor Who and the BBC. They brought me on to write the novelisation of an episode called The Church on Ruby Road, which was the Christmas episode of this year. I just had so much fun. It was very nerve-wracking in the beginning. It's been 6 months and I still can't believe it's real, but I'm having lots of fun. I've just handed in the first draft of the sequel to The Principle of Moments. It is difficult though, because the UK is facing, a lot of turbulent economic times, and money is sort of leaving the arts, which really concerns me and worries me. And I'm definitely looking into grants from the Arts Council and other things like that to just help my career keep going as it's in its early stages. I sit on the board of trustees now for Exeter City of Literature, which is a charity that's sort of folded into UNESCO and is basically to do with different cities of literature around the world. So there's a thriving network now of cities which have literature, a significance to sort of global literature. In Exeter, there are so many different things, I couldn't list them all, but the Exeter book is probably one of the biggest claims to literature fame, I guess, because it's one of the oldest books of English literature poetry, I think, found in the UK. So we have an amazing heritage to do with that. When it comes to how I write and my processes, it's kind of the evening hours where I really sort of do my best work. I honestly try to only write for about 4 to 5 hours at a time, with taking breaks, but I try and just do it in one concentrated burst, because if I look up from the page I'll just get so distracted. And the rest of the time I'm either doing sort of freelance work, do a lot of panel moderation, and I recently was helping to curate a festival with a lovely organisation called Off the Shelf, which is really exciting. So I do a lot of different things. I try and set myself a word count goal, but then that can be pressurizing. So what I'll often do is just try and say, I want to write this scene. Then I try and delve a little bit into the next scene, because I read a great piece of advice that said you should always start the next day's chapter or work, because then when you sit down, you're not facing a blank page, which I found really useful. It's definitely weird and there's no framework to follow, so I have to make my own framework and see what fits best for me.